There we go. Welcome back to the O'Shane podcast. Your host, Johnny Petrovic and Jared Zarkovac. Just Zarkovac.
Yeah, okay, pal.
Bro, I'm sorry. It's so hard to multitask and play guitar at the same time. And he just left. It's all right. My guitar sounds way better than his voice. So what I noticed when re-listened to last week's podcast, so after I'm done, when I finish with these episodes and I'm going through them on the editing software, Riverside, the app we use, gives us the opportunity to do what's called, it has AI features that like will optimize things. So there's an AI audio, which makes it studio sound quality. And so I've been using that. And it's actually from some of our episodes where I haven't used it to ones we have, it actually makes it sound like so much more better, more professional. Anyhow, what I kind of noticed was it cuts out stuff though. So last week, none of the guitar got recorded, which means the intro. And then also remember how I literally spent like 15 seconds playing a song that we played, me and Jared played for his fiance.
Mm-hmm.
So none of that got recorded. Like it was just silence in the podcast for like a solid, I don't even know how long.
So it doesn't do music?
No, well, it's only picks up on voices, and the whole point of what the AI studio thing does is it just basically cuts out all background noise besides the human voice. So if there's any background cars or like music playing in the background, it tries cutting that out so that it only like amplifies your voice, but it makes it sound like studio quality, which is like way better than our cheap mics that we have. So it works really well. Anyways, that was your day, bucko.
So did you turn the audio off now? Is it going to hear the guitar for the intro?
Well, in the editing, I'll do that. So I'll still do that AI feature, which will make it sound really good, but I'll go through the editing and I'll just make sure that sound comes through with the guitar for the intro.
I'm doing good, thank God. Kind of had a boring week, but it was pretty good.
I didn't really talk to you on Sunday at all, so honestly, last time I really talked to you was last Wednesday.
Yeah. It's been a very busy couple of weeks. So.
Doesn't it feel like we haven't recorded in much longer than a week?
No, it feels about a week to me.
Yeah, I don't know why. To me, it feels like a while. But hey, guess what?
Chicken butt.
No, retard. Today's episode 10. Today's episode, our 10th episode. That's a thing. We've been doing this for 10 weeks. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, 2.5 months. Wow, already?
Right?
That's crazy. Yeah, that is crazy.
I was thinking about today. I was like, hey, we got to have some kind of like celebration when we hit these mile marks. We go from 10.
It's only 10 episodes,
Come on,
dude.
bro.
What are you talking about?
Doing this forever. That's 10 weeks of consistently doing this together. Neither of us have really missed a date. And we pre-recorded one for camp. But besides that, like it's been solid, man. This is going good. And something me and you, we've been talking about doing a podcast for like years now, honestly. So it's cool to me. I think it's something to celebrate.
I think 100 or something would be cool.
I think the benchmark should be 10. 50 is like, okay, this is like serious. This is a habit. 50 weeks, you kidding me? 100 is like, all right, we're in the game now, like where, this is like good stuff's happening,
Exactly. That's a real milestone, not 10.
Come on. Okay. But for us,
or hear me out. We could have a milestone for every single one.
Hey, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Yeah. You know what I mean? This is Kool-Aid. Anyway, so yeah,
so is this
10 weeks, 10 weeks in, and I think it's going pretty good. We're getting better at it. The episodes I think we're talking more fluently. Honestly, I don't know what our viewership has been like. I think once we start actively doing stuff on the YouTube channel, it'll be great, but we'll get more traction. And once we get Josh on here too, that'll be just more fun. Speaking of the devil, Josh is driving out tonight.
Is he really? Wow.
So, however long it takes him to get here, who knows how many times he stops or sleeps, or if his car breaks down, God forbid,
Yeah.
So yeah, he's for those of you who don't know, again, Josh is the founder My older brother, he's the founder of the Ambassadors podcast. And yeah, once he moves out here, we're getting him set up, and he'll hopefully be a regular on.
He's been saying for like the past 3 years, oh yeah, I'm going to be out back in Colorado real soon, couple months.
Yeah, seriously.
Never moved back.
Hey, I told him on his long drive, I said, you need to listen to our podcast.
Yeah.
I said he needs to catch up.
Did he not listen to any of them yet?
He's listened to the first one. He didn't. So I sent him the first one, and he doesn't have Spotify, so he doesn't regularly go on Spotify. So he thought that was the only one we made. So like last week, I told him like, dude, there's like 9 more episodes, and he was like, I'm good. I'm kidding.
He probably was.
Classic. Oh, dude, the funniest thing was, Jared has a wedding invitation he gave me to give to Joshua.
Okay,
it's actually sitting on my desk right there. You can see it, right? That's the wedding invitation right there. And the funniest thing is, and I totally knew this is what he was going to say. So like I sent a picture of it to him, and I was like, hey, Jared wanted me to send you this. Jared has an invitation for you. I'll give it to you when you get here, but just so you know, you and Lindsay are invited. I was like, oh, sick. He's like, where is it? And I was like, it's like Strasbourg, Canada. And he just replies, nah, I'm good.
I'll send this one out.
Oh, literally exactly what I knew he was going to say is, nah.
That's like Uncle Louie. When Jared was gone, Jared went to go visit Claudia. And so I think Robert was gone that week too for camp, or I think it was the weekend of camp when I was back home. So I was like, it was just me. I was kind of hanging out with everybody. It was nice. Got to talk to people that I don't usually talk to on Sunday and stuff.
Yeah.
And like 3 or 4 separate times that Sunday, Louis walks past me and goes, you better get married local because I'm not traveling anywhere.
That's awesome.
Well, what the heck, dude? What are you talking about?
That is actually the most Louis thing I've ever heard. That's hilarious.
But he kept saying it. He kept, yeah. I was,
oh, man. Because every time he saw you, he thought of Jared and he thought of his pocket.
Yeah, literally.
His wallet.
That guy's fine, dude.
That is actually awesome. Better get married
Anyways.
local. Yeah,
how was your
it'd be
week?
nice, Louis, if we get married local, but we happen to be related to every single person. So
yeah, pretty much.
I mean,
how was your week, though?
We could do a little bit of a.
No, I prefer not to.
That's my horrible attempt of trying to play Sweet Home Alabama by ear. Where'd you go?
I spilled 2 drops of sody pop. So I cleaned it up.
All right. So we got some hot news to talk about today. I don't know if you're aware.
The Jackson kid?
Jackson? Is that the shooter?
Rampage Jackson's son?
No. Today in Minnesota, there was a church shooting. 17 people were shot.
Really?
Yeah, it was a Catholic school, like an elementary Catholic school. I have it pulled up right here. And okay, this is going to be a topic because there's implications here that me and you are both going to want to jump on and have an opinion on it. So basically, this guy goes in and he shoots up a Catholic school and he shoots 17 people, all of them from the ages of like 8 years old to 14. So they're all kids, like little kids. Okay. He kills 2 of them. 4 of them are in critical condition in the hospital and the rest are just injured.
Okay.
Somehow, some way. So yeah, that was this morning. It's a Catholic school in Minneapolis. Let's see. So investigators were examining writings. Let's see. Released news. Of the 17 injured, 14 were children and 3 were adults in their 80s. Officials were looking for social media content suspect, and he has a whole entire manifesto and like a YouTube stuff. This is kind of like Edward Jones, I think his name was. There's a way back when me and you were younger, there was another serial killer killer that did something similar. Anyways, this one's different because it's spiritual warfare going on here. So live updates, motives sought in Minneapolis school shooting that killed 2 children. So he posted pictures. I could send it to you, but like he posted pictures and he wrote this letter to his parents and all this like creepy stuff. Long story short, this is a transgender guy.
Oh boy.
Okay. Transgender individual, and he has like this weird picture, and it's like different things are written in German, and so he like drew a picture of himself looking in a mirror, and the reflection's like this demon that's like talking to him. saying like telling him to kill himself. Like this is like hand-drawn pictures he's drawn.
Do you have it? Do you want to share your screen and show it?
I don't think I don't know how to do that on here. I'll have to
You
figure
just
out next.
you click share and you click screen.
Where's oh yeah. Okay, yeah, share. So share screen. Let's see, window.
It should give you the option just to share that window or the whole. Yeah.
Do you see it?
Yep.
All right. So here's a news article. Let me look up. Well, let's see if I can look up. Let's see. Minneapolis Catholic school shooting. Let's see.
Suspect
drawn. God, looking at spell. And that's caps locks. Drawn picture. Let's see if that stuff pops up. Dude, why can't I spell for the life of me? Goodness gracious. Latte. Let's see if any of the stuff pops up. Okay, yeah, so here's some of his pictures. They kind of look like that. So he drew it all out, almost like childlike freakishly. Pictures like that. Here's another one where he literally has a picture of the church. This is what the kid looks like. It's an adult man, transgender guy. He wrote "For the Children" on a magazine. Ha 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 ha. He also wrote "Your God is dead. Where's your God now?" on some of the other stuff. Where's the demon picture that he drew? There was one that. Yeah, let's see. No, not that one. There's one he drew. So this is another picture of what he looked like. You can kind of see right here. Here you go, Justin. That's what he looks like.
Oh boy.
Yeah, for real. Oh, there's a specific one I was looking at.
I think does he have let me send this to you. I'm gonna just send this to you over Discord real quick. Here.
What did you look up to find it?
I don't know. Just open that link on Discord. I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, that is. You know, I'm look up is Minneapolis kid shooting drawing of demon and mirror. Let's see if it pops up like that.
Did you just open the link I sent you?
No, I don't have it open on here. I was looking at it on my phone. Minneapolis kid drawing. Goodness gracious. Minneapolis shooter drawing Russian.
I just said Minnesota shooter disturbing art, and it was somewhere there.
Minnesota shooter disturbing art. All right, then it should pop up for me.
Yeah, I had to scroll down a little bit. Actually, go to type disturbing Minneapolis mass shooter raw story.
Mass shooter what? So again.
Disturbing Minneapolis mass shooter raw story.
Disturbing Minneapolis shooter raw story. There it is. All right.
Yeah.
So for those who are looking, this is what it looks like. Here's a picture of it right here. You can see there's a demon, and you can look at him looking in the mirror at this demon. It's kind of weird. There's like flowers drawn around. His gun. Let's see.
Hit the control button.
Disturbing Minneapolis gun. Let's see. Disturbing Minneapolis shooters guns. Let's see. He wrote on his gun stuff like this. There's like pictures where he has like written names of other famous school shooters, of other mass shooters on there. There's some that say like God is dead. Suck on this. Oh, where is your God? That's what it says. Where is your God? All this other cursing. So anyways, we're trying to just show people here like the live update of what happened today, which is today's Wednesday, the 27th of August. really crazy. Kill Donald Trump was on one of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is like, and the greater point what we want to get here, and it's crazy too. Like, he has like the whole church drawn out. This is a church his mom went to. Just realized I'm like scratching myself on camera. Really jacked up, messed up stuff. So this is the same church that his mom went to that he was a kid, so he knew details about it. He has this whole manifesto that he wrote to his parents, but this right here, man, I think this says it all. In this picture right here of him looking in the mirror, there's a demon, and in Russian, I saw a guy online who translated it that's saying, he's like asking him questions, who are you? And then it's like replies to him, tells him to kill himself. This is demonic. This is called spiritual warfare, and this is something me and Justin have been talking about on the podcast a lot, especially transgenderism. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it because it's truth, all right? Transgenderism is antichrist. It's completely demonic. How do I know that? Anything, any religion, any philosophy, any school of thought or organization like the LGBTQ organization that says the way God created you is incorrect, that you need to physically change who you are. I'm sorry, that's against Christ's created purpose for you. That's completely, and this idea that like, I need to get these surgeries to completely change the way God made you fearfully and wonderfully made. He says he knew you in your mother's womb. If there's voices or there's something telling you that, hey, God made a mistake when he made you, that is an antichrist spirit. That is a demonic spirit. That is not from God. Do not listen to those things. Reject those things. And there's a lot of people who are coming out of transgenderism who are detransitioning, coming to Christ. There's a really famous one I've been following on Instagram. Have you seen that guy? There's this guy who just
prominent ones.
He just like detransitioned, like I forgot, like 2 months ago, and he has a girlfriend now, or I don't know how the whole story is. He has a girlfriend, and they're like going to churches trying to find a denomination. It's really interesting. I don't know his name, but what do you think, Justin, about what I was just talking about like how clearly transgenderism, the whole LGBTQ movement is seriously demonic, and just with this story and what you're seeing, and what do you think? Also, one thing, I did see a guy, he posted a picture of I think like 10 or 12 people who've been recent shooters of schools or things, and they were all part of the LGBTQ community. They were all either transgender or like transitioning or something like that. But what do you think about like the demonic spirit behind this stuff?
So let me look this up real quick so I can get the actual title. Sorry, 1 second. But so obviously from Christian ethics standpoint, we would say that all sexual activity outside of the marriage of an adult man and adult woman is sinful. It's not something that God desires. And so transgenderism in and of itself is a distortion of what God created, how God created people to be. We can see all throughout nature, there's, male animals and female animals, and the only way to propagate the species is to have them come together. I think the topic is a little difficult because I wouldn't say every LGB person, right? Forget the T, not 100% sure, but I wouldn't say they're all demonically possessed 100% of the time. I think there are very serious traumatic events that happen to people. So to bring up this YouTube video that I watched, there's this man named Beckett Cook. He has the Beckett Cook Show, and he was a person who went very far into, he was gay. He went very far into this whole aesthetic of being this prominent LA designer or something along those lines. I don't exactly remember, but he ended up hating his life. I think his testimony, He has a brilliant testimony. I highly suggest people go check it out. But he got to one of the most important parties you could ever get to. And he's sitting around all of these super famous actresses and actors. And he just said, I remember looking down at my glass of wine and thinking, is this all there is? Like, this is what I've been striving for my whole life. And then from that moment forward, he just felt so empty. And through that experience, he ended up coming to Christ. But because he was gay, he had a lot of internal struggle with being a Christian and then being gay as well. So you can go listen to his whole testimony, his whole story about that. But he has this video called What Causes Same-Sex Attraction? It's an interview with Dr. Nicolosi, and it's very enlightening. It's very, very fascinating. And the thing that I really learned from that video is I think it's less about demonic possession potentially, right? Or just being filled with this spirit of evil. And I think it's about boys who went through traumatic experiences when they were younger and their lives changed either a lot or a little bit because of those experiences. And then the effects compound as time goes on until they become an adult, puberty kicks in, and there's just all these hormones and they don't know how to process it and understand it. So to get back to the main point, which your question was about LGBT, I would say I have the utmost compassion for these people because, there are things inside of them that are not right. They're misfiring, so to speak. And I think as Christians, we should have compassion for them and we should show them love, even as Christ showed us love when we were in our sins. And so I have another little story, but I want to give you a chance to kind of go over what you think.
I agree with what you're saying. I want to clarify. I'm not saying people who are transitioning or transgender or part of the LGBT community are being possessed by demons. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying this is a spirit of this is a demonic spirit that is forefronting these movements. These are demonic movements. Like, say it's whatever type of sin it is, right? When someone is addicted to pornography, that is a demonic spirit. That is a demonic entity, or that is a demonic antichrist thing. That's going against God's. There's people who are pro pornography. There's people like OnlyFans girls. There's a huge movement trying to say it's empowering women for them to sell themselves online, and that is demonic. Am I saying that when this girl is doing these inappropriate videos online for money, am I saying she's possessed while she's doing that? No, but she is tapping into a demonic spirit or a demonic influence and allowing that in her life. If you look at what LGBTQ's entire motto is, they're like mantra is pride, which is like one of the original sin of Satan is pride. So that's what I mean is like we have because I'm seeing people now, again, the first thing people start posting when they see this is they start posting gun control. Look, me and Justin are pacifists. We don't believe in killing people under any circumstance. So don't think we're promoting, me and Justin, when I say this, that we're like saying people need to be all gun ho. But logically, from a logical perspective, if we want a society that can actually make sense, look, guns are not what killed killed these children here. It's the fact that you had a psychologically sick person who has bought into the culture zeitgeist of, hey, guess what? Transgenderism is healthy for you. You don't feel like the way you are. Well, guess what? It's just your Christian parents who clearly, this was his mom's church, are just oppressing what is originally inside of you. And he just kept feeding into these demonic voices to the point where now you're looking at him drawing pictures of him looking in a mirror and seeing a demon telling him to kill himself. Like, and how many school shootings have all been people of the LGBTQ community or just full-on transgender people? This is like one of the tales of oldest time. Sexual confusion is not anything new to society. Look at the Romans. They get to their height and look how pagan and disgusting they were. And look, what's the next branch in, we talked about this before on the podcast, of the LGBT, whatever, the gay community. It's now going to become slowly, there's already people who are already advocating for it. People might think this sounds outrageous, but there's people I've seen advocate for pedophilia because of the sexual orientation. And so it's just like, when do you stop? It just keeps going. It keeps going. There's clearly demonic force behind this. And what this kid is going through, like, now, I'm not saying every single person that is transgender is a school shooter, but what I am saying is that this is a seriously unhealthy and demonic, what do you call, because it's against God. It's against God's natural order. Satan wants to pull you as far out of God's order as you possibly can. These people are on hormonal drugs, hormones that are completely shifting their what do you call, behavior. They're making them extremely depressed. And also it's very anti-God, because the gay community, and especially the trans community, which are separate, they're combined, but they're separate their own ways. They're also naturally going to be anti-Christian, because Christianity teaches against this stuff. You live in a quote unquote Christian nation where the main religion, or supposedly 80% of Americans are Christians, right? I don't know if that still is the same today, but that was an older study from like the early 2000s. But regardless, if you're buying into this entire philosophy and this entire worldview of transgenderism or LGBTQ, where your entire identity is your sexual preference or your gender, that's what makes you, like, that's where your whole life revolves around, is your identity, because that's what it is, identity politics, right? People wrap their identity in something that no one's identity should be in. Like, your identity, even if you're a straight person, your identity shouldn't be like, when you introduce yourself to someone, like, hey, I'm a straight person. Like, should be your identity. Okay, that's maybe an attribute, maybe affects a part of who you are, but what you identify as should be like the characteristics of your character, of your personhood, of your autonomous will that directs the soul that you have the blessing and gift to inhabit and to freely express the world and affect other souls. Like, that is your identity. So as me and Justin, like, our identity is in Christ. It's not in the fact that we're straight. It's not the fact that we like women. It's not in our hobbies. It's not in our gender as males. That's just literally like the physical makeup of who we are and our sexual orientation. My entire identity can't be wrapped up in that, because that's a thing that, what do you call, is not consistent. You might be consistently your whole life straight, but that doesn't mean you're consistently always, because what you're saying here is you're talking about your sexual attraction. You're talking about sex here. Sex is not something that's constant in your life, right? It's not an everyday thing that you like breathing. It's not, and it really shouldn't direct your entire life, because that's what your identity is supposed to be. It's supposed to be what your life is based around. If your life is based around sex, then okay, yeah, we're just going back to hedonism. We're going back to literally the doctrine of the satanic church. The church of Satan, the Luciferian church, is hedonism. It's self-pleasure. It's your whole life is usually wrapped around pleasing yourself. And what is the way people please themselves the most in this world is sex. That is what they do. So when I'm talking about the demonic part of this, I'm not saying every gay person. There's a lot of Christians who still have sexual attraction to men as men, or woman to woman. They just don't act on those sexual urges the same way me and Justin don't act on the sexual urge every single man has to sleep with more than one woman. Like, that's a natural urge. That's almost like premortal. Like, it's like this old like primitive, like, instinct guys have. We don't act on that because of a higher identity in Christ and not in our physical, what do you call, pursuits or our physical urges. And so, no, not every gay person is a demon possessed or sexually attracted to the same sex person or transgender person. But I'm just saying there's a trend that's happening here, and I see this, and I'm not surprised that a guy who's been raised in a culture that's been completely taking God out of schools, told them from a young age God doesn't exist, you're just stardust particles that are a complete accident, there's no reason why the universe exists, and there's no reason for your life, and oh yeah, by the way, your entire identity should be wrapped up in your sexuality, and also Christians are the bad guys, Donald Trump is the most evil Hitler of all time, and he wants to take away your rights. The guy literally wrote like F Donald Trump or whatever, or he's going to kill Donald Trump on a magazine. Like, none of this is surprising. Like, I know this might be blowing it out of water and might doing a straw man of some sort, or a strong man, but or using this one minority as a majority. The point I'm trying to make is this is where it leads. This is the height. This is like the natural conclusion. If you've been telling people from a young age that they're supposed to hate Donald Trump and he's going to take away all their rights, he's the next Hitler, Christians are your enemy because they're fighting to take away your sexual rights, and your transgender rights and all these transgender people are going to die. I literally heard people say transgender people are going to die because of Donald Trump being elected. And you have this association with God and Trump and this like American, whatever, propaganda thing in your mind that you've been taught in college and in elementary school is all evil. What would be the natural conclusion? Like, you see yourself as a Jew in the Holocaust. Like, that's the comparison that you've been made, because if Trump's Hitler, then that means you're the Jew. If Trump is your Hitler, that means you are the Jew. So what would everyone do if they were the Jew in American culture? Because that's what we've been raised with, hating the Nazis and the Germans. Everyone's like Inglorious Bastards, right? That's the movie Quentin Tarantino made. The whole point of the movie is a bunch of guys going and shooting Hitler. He wanted to make this movie where Hitler gets it from the Americans. Guess what? Assassination on Donald Trump, going and just trying to hurt people as much as you can. It's completely demonic antichrist. That's the point I was trying to make by saying, like, look, this is the natural conclusion of all these things, and you got to look at what's the spirit behind this. This doesn't just pop out of nowhere. There's an entire movement around it. What's the foundation of this? And it has to be completely demonic.
Yeah, so I would agree with that, where if we take a step back, right, instead of just pointing to one individual, and we take a step back and look at what's been going on in the society for the past couple decades, or past many decades, but you see, this huge movement of women to have the right to abort, to murder their child, right? And that's something that they hold very dear to themselves. And they say, women will die if they don't have this God-given right to abort their own child, right? And so I think I agree with you that there is a demonic force driving these ideologies, right? It's the same demonic force that was driving the ideologies of Stalin and Hitler,
and
right?
Moloch.
Marxism, yeah, communism. It's the same spirit that pushed Mao Zedong, or whatever his name is, to murder 100,000 people, right? It's all the same thing. And so I agree with you that the influence is demonic. But even though that's true, we should fight that as Christians on a spiritual level, right? In the way that Christ fought it, which was to bring the truth to the world, to illuminate the darkness. And the Bible says, put Satan to an open shame by declaring truth. It doesn't say that exactly, but that's kind of the idea behind it.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I mentioned Moloch because you said, like, abortion, right? The spirit behind abortion is the same one from behind Moloch. Who is Moloch? It's the demon or the god, lowercase god, that the ancients during the time of Abraham were sacrificing their babies to, on the hands of Moloch. These hands where they would heat up their hands and melt babies in these brass hands of this statue of Moloch. It's the same spirit that's pushing for the greatest genocide of all time, abortion, that happens in just America alone. Who knows across the world how much it happens. So no, like, again, we're not like, these are people we're talking about. We understand that. We're not calling gay people or trannies demons. We're saying they have been caught up in a lie, because how Justin said, they have all experienced extreme trauma. And guess what? Demons latch onto trauma. Talk to any demonologist or any, what do you call, exorcist, or a person who was used to be a demonologist and became a Christian, or a person who used to be into Wiccans or used to be into Satan. There's people in the Satanic Church who interact with demons all the time and knew how they worked and even treated them as friends, who came out of that, became Christians, and all of them will say the same thing. Like, demons, they latch onto trauma. And they use that trauma as a stronghold, just like any manipulative person does, as a stronghold over that human being. They use it to keep them under their thumb. Yeah, that's just the hot topic that I was thinking about today. Is when I read this and I see all this stuff and I'm reading all these things he put on there. It's just like, it's so much evil. It's so much evil. And me, I'm like right on the precipice. I'm on the line. I'm on the fence between being a millennial and a Gen Zer. I was born in 2000, so it's it's a new millennium. But then if you look people online, they say millennials end at the like 2002, I think, and then Gen Z starts at like 2004 or something like that. I don't know.
No, I think it's 2000. Maybe we can look
2000.
it up.
I've been told it's like not like millennials end towards like the early 2000, like past 2000. So I might be considered millennial. It depends who you've asked. I've seen like different articles online about it.
It's most commonly defined as 1997.
That's when it ends.
Gen Z starts at 1997.
Really?
I've heard different stats about that. Some people
Because
say 19.
I've been saying I'm a Gen Zer forever, and then someone recently told me I'm still a millennial, and I looked it up and I saw
Really?
arguments for both. But regardless, I was raised in this generation that is the very woke generation in schooling, at least. I don't think my generation itself is very woke, but I grew up in a generation when I was in high school, which was only 6 years ago. I was being told to use the correct pronouns of people. Like we would introduce each other in certain classes, and the teacher would go around and say, "Hey, she would ask the students their pronouns."
That happened to you in high school?
Yeah, that's that's not even Gen X or whatever the next gen or Gen Alpha, whatever it is, right? So like I grew up where every teacher hated Trump except for maybe a few of them. And look, I don't like that Trump that much, especially recently with some of the stuff he's been doing with Israel and all that crazy stuff or whatever. But regardless, when I was in high school, like he was standing for more of my beliefs, especially Christian beliefs. And dude, teachers, students, it was like I was in high school when he got elected the first time. So like I was raised being told in my schools there's no God, there's no reason for existence, promoting all these demonic, what do you call, practices of LGBTQ. All these things are totally anti-God, like Sodom and Gomorrah, right? This isn't light
Pretty
stuff.
much.
Romans chapter 1, like this isn't light stuff. Like God took that stuff very seriously in the Old Testament and very seriously in the New Testament too. So I don't know. Look, there is technically nothing new under the sun, right? Apostle Paul and Jesus, all the early church, they all lived in ancient Rome, which was one of the most perverted. Pedophilia was totally normalized back then. So like, it's not like our society is worse then than it was there, but we don't want to go back to that. And that's what's slowly happening is we're now slowly going towards more and more sexual impurity, sexual like, what do you call it, perversion. I mean, a lot of these serial killers, like someone like Ted Bundy, they all said it started off with porn, regular porn, and then it got worse. Then it became more hardcore because the dopamine receptors weren't firing enough because they got tired of the old porn, and then it had to get dirtier and darker and more abusive, and then it just became rape, and that's how he basically got into Ted Bundy style, where he was dragging a woman out to the woods, raping him and killing him. Like that's that. And when people interviewed him and other people too, other serial killers, it started off with like pornography. So I don't know what happens when you tell an entire generation that they are godless. Their life means no reasons. They can kill their babies in their wombs if they want to, and their biggest enemy is the church and God, or anyone that tells like anyone disagrees with you, they're just trying to oppress you because you're the next Holocaust victim. Then yeah, dude, I'm not surprised some guy goes radical and goes and starts shooting up a church or something like that. So the Instagram guy I was talking about earlier that's detransitioning his name is Neza, Neeza Powers. Neza Powers. It's a pretty cool
name.
Pretty cool. Him and his girlfriend are just going church to church trying to find the denomination to stick to, because he became a Christian. He was a transgender person who converted to Christianity, and so now he's like, and it's really cool because he's just being super vulnerable online day by day, just showing like he's like, I still have this urge to be a girl. Like it's not like it all went away.
Oh, wow.
So he's like talking about how he's like having to give this up and surrender to Jesus daily.
Good for him.
It's really
Praise
interesting.
God.
It's cool to follow his journey.
Yeah. That's amazing. All right. You want to get into John?
Yeah, let's do it. Let me close this. But say, let's definitely keep the Minneapolis people in prayers. I want to I need to reach out to Lucas because he's a Catholic in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So this is like, he's a Catholic and this happened in a Catholic church. It's not the Catholic church he goes to because he goes to I'm not going to say which one he goes to, but the Catholic church he goes to is he's probably not that far. This is like right next to him. So yeah, we'll keep everyone in prayers, please. Those who are listening, those people for the shooting. I don't know if the suspect was killed, or not the suspect. I mean, we know he did it. I don't know if he was killed in action or killed in the process of it all or not. So otherwise, pray for his salvation too. I know what he did is horrible, but Christ told us to forgive our enemies and to love them. So pray for this country that the world turns around from the sickness and this evil, what do you call ideology and idolatry of sex. It's a dark world. So we're going into John chapter 6. I think we're just going to read the first, what was it? I saw it on my look through my ESV here. It's a really long chapter, so we're not going to read the whole thing. I think we should just read
to 21,
the first 15 verses, maybe, because it's
15.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because after that it kind of changes topics, but
okay,
we could go a little further. Let's just see how it goes. So, you want to read 7? I'll read 7, or 6 or 8 or whatever. You read 8, I read 7.
Sure. You want me to start?
Sure.
John 6, starting on verse 1. After these things, Jesus went over the Sea of Galilee, which is the Sea of Tiberias, and a great multitude followed him, because they saw his miracles which he did on them that were diseased. And Jesus went up into a mountain, and there he sat with his disciples. And the Passover, a feast of the Jews, was nigh. When Jesus then lifted up his eyes and saw a great company come unto him, he saith unto Philip, Whence shall we buy bread, that these may eat? And this he said to prove him, for he himself knew what he would do. Philip answered him, 200 pennyworth of bread is not sufficient for them, that every one of them may take a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, saith unto him,
There's a lad here which hath 5 barley loaves and 2 small fishes, but what are they among so many? And Jesus said, Make the men sit down. Now there was much grass in the place, so the men sat down, in number about 5,000. And Jesus took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed to the disciples, and the disciples to them that were set down, and likewise the fishes as much as they would. When they were filled, he said unto his disciples, Gather up the fragments that remain, that nothing be lost. Therefore they gathered them together and filled 12 baskets with the fragments of the 5 barley loaves, which remained over and above unto them that had eaten. Then those men, when they had seen the miracle that Jesus did, said, This is of a truth that prophet that should come into the world. When Jesus therefore perceived that they would come and take him by force to make him king, he departed again unto the mountain himself alone. I like that last verse. He went to the mountains. It fits in right with our theme. So
it's a common theme.
So yeah, last week we were talking about John chapter 5, where Christ is basically telling the Pharisees he gets his authority to speak about these things from God the Father, and him and the Father have the same honor and authority, and those who honor him honor the Father. We were talking about Jesus. We talked about the Trinity last week. This week now we're talking about the miracle of feeding of the 5,000. I do want to make one thing that kind of popped into my head as we were reading about what we were saying, and just to kind of reemphasize something you said too. The ultimate goal with everything, and this is part of being an ambassador, and it might even tie in a little bit today's story too, about what we were talking with the transgender stuff and the LGBTQ community and the horrible tragedy that's happened today. You know how we stop these things from happening? We don't ban guns. We bring the gospel to people. We hopefully can catch someone before they get to that extreme of wanting to shoot up a school, because the only thing that can transform someone who is that lost is Jesus Christ. And that's what we want. We want people to know Christ and we want to know him and to make him known to people, because he is the only person that can make someone completely new, to make you what you're supposed to be. If you're born feeling like you aren't the way you're supposed to be, well, guess what? You're right, because you have a God-shaped hole, and changing your gender ain't going to fix it. It's not going to save you. It's definitely not going to save you from death, which is something we all face. Only thing that can save you and get you off this earth alive is the blood of Jesus Christ that was spilt for you on Calvary, on the cross, that took your payment of sin that you deserved. Jesus took your payment that you deserve and offers you free gifts, offers you the free gift of life, eternal life with Jesus and him in heaven. So that was a disclosure I wanted to make sure, because, you know, I'm frustrated with what's happening in this country, and I'm frustrated seeing it leading to kids dying and going to that. So, and I'm seeing the demonic influence behind what that guy did, shooting up that school. I see the demonic influence behind the LGBTQ community, the demonic influence behind transgenderism, telling them you aren't the way God created you to be. But then again, like I said, you're trying to fill a God-shaped hole that was meant to be filled by Christ alone. You're trying to fill it up by exploring sexuality and exploring your identity in your gender and thinking that's going to fulfill you. It's not.
Well, it's kind of ironic because, you know, if you look at all the issues that are going on in our society today, materialistic people who don't believe in a spiritual realm would say, you know, oh, well, there's no perfect solution. But then as Christians, we kind of take a step back and say, well, actually, there is a perfect solution for all of these problems at once, right? And that, like you were saying, is to know Christ and be known of Christ and to spread his light to those around us so that they can know Christ and be known of Christ.
Exactly. And you see, the transgender people are trying to reform their physical appearance and their physical body, thinking that's going to make them whole. Whereas what God and Jesus want to do is reform and reshape your heart. They're actually going to do on the inside what you are trying to display on the outside. And it's to make you completely whole, to find what you were born to be, which is a child of God, not a man or a woman. Your identity shouldn't be in, I don't feel like I'm a woman, so I want to be a man, or I don't feel like I'm a man, I'm supposed to be a woman. Even if you feel that way, that's not where your identity is supposed to be captured. It's not what your identity is supposed to be passionately pursuing as its main existence and reason for life. Your identity is supposed to be in who you are in Jesus, which is a child of God. Your identity should be in Christ. That will fulfill you. That will make you feel complete where you felt incomplete. Not a surgery. Something physical on the outside. It's not going to heal your inside, which is your heart. Jesus didn't come to reshape what you looked like on the outside. He came to reshape what you look like on the inside. And of the abundance of the heart, the outward expression of who you are will change to be something beautiful in the image of God and what he wanted you to originally be.
And the change that he brings it's truly meant to literally change who you are on the inside, right? And that's why we have this imagery, Christian imagery of becoming a new creature in Christ, a new creation in Christ, right? To be conformed to the image of Christ rather than our own image. So it's really interesting to see that there is a literal physical change of the inside, right?
Yeah. And it's not that God doesn't care about our outside to a certain extent. Like, obviously not I'm talking about appearances, but he provides, he will take care of us, and he clothes us and feeds us. And that's kind of goes into a little bit of today's story, this famous miracle of Jesus feeding 5,000 people with like only a few fish and a few pieces of bread. And
my
so,
dog just walked in. So
your dad?
My dog.
Oh, your dog.
He just walked up
Hey,
to me.
Doug.
Hey, buddy. What's up, dude?
Tell Oscar we're trying to do a podcast. Do you have a doggy
Keep
door? How the heck
yapping.
did Oscar get inside?
I'm going to go put him upstairs. You keep talking.
Sure. All right. So today's what do you call today's reading is talking about obviously as we just read. This is so much harder when I'm just talking to myself, but the 5,000 that were fed. So God, Christ is doing this amazing miracle, and I mentioned it a little bit in the last podcast about how in the concept of the Trinity, how we have a hard time conceptualizing how God can be three in one being three persons. And I kind of brought up the point of different miracles I can't understand, yet we still take in faith. And so a similar miracle to what we kind of talked about last week was how's God able to take one fish and make it and feed 5,000 people with it and then have 12 baskets overflowing afterwards, right? That's how many says. Therefore, they gathered them together and filled 12 baskets with the fragments of the 5 barley loaves, which remained over and above them that had eaten. So it was bread that was left over. So Christ was able to feed that many people with just a few pieces of fish, multiply one. It doesn't say how. It just says he blessed it into heaven and then he fed it to people and they just kept coming out of thin air. While you were gone, I was talking about how last week I mentioned this miracle last week when I was talking about the Trinity. That's a miracle that so many people are not willing to accept, yet they're willing to accept the fact that Jesus could turn one fish into 5,000, one into many, right? So that was just a thought I had. I do like how some of the disciples are named by name here. I like how it says in verse 7, Philip answered him, 200 pennyworth of bread is not sufficient for them. And then I also talked about Andrew, Simon Peter's brother. I thought it was kind of interesting. There's a lad here. Imagine being that kid, dude.
I think before that, even in verse 5, it makes this really interesting comment. Well, it's actually in verse 6. But in verse 5, Jesus asks Philip, when shall we buy bread so that everybody can eat? And then in verse 6, it says, Jesus said this to prove him, for he himself knew what he would do. And I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to have this experience with another adult, but at work, when sometimes I'm tasked to help a new hire, and I have to help them get their environment set up, their workplace set up, or whatever. And recently I had there's a guy who came and started working on our team. And it's kind of funny because on the first week or whatever, people are kind of nervous and they make really, really basic, really dumb mistakes. And so I've had this experience where I ask a question full well knowing the answer and just waiting for them to respond just to see if they know. And if they don't, then you can go into it a little bit. Or if they know it partially, then you can correct it. Or if they've got no clue, you kind of just smile at them and just tell them, right? And so I almost imagine Jesus doing that here, where he knows exactly what he's about to do. He's going to feed everybody, but he still asks just to see how Philip responds, right?
And we see him do that, and we mentioned him doing that here. It's literally saying he did that, but we kind of inferred a little bit earlier in the last few chapters of John that Jesus did it multiple times, right? Where he's like, he's asking a question he already knows the answer to. And he also and he's asking it more of almost just like, not to provoke the person, but rather to provoke them to think, right? To see what they'll say and also just initiate what he's about to do, right? Like the woman at the well. Go grab your husband, right?
Yeah.
She's like,
which one?
I don't have a husband. And Jesus is like, yeah, I know. You had 5 of them, and the man you're with right now is not even your husband. Like, he asked a question he knew the answer to. He asked the question to the man in the pool of Bethesda. Do you want to be whole? Yeah, the guy wants to be whole. But Christ was asking an even deeper question that he asks him again later on. And he asks him later on, he says, hey, behold, thou art made whole. Go and sin no more, lest a worse thing come unto thee. He made him whole in a spiritual level as much as he did a physical level, right? So many different times where that's where Christ, he's always like inviting people. It's like his conversations are always like these teachings are all often start like an invitation for them to kind of like to challenge them a little bit and to see how they react, even knowing how they are going to react and know his answer is going to be, right? Who among you is cast the first stone? Whoever among you is sinless, right? Like someone standing by might be like, oh, okay, he made a rule for them to, he's saying it's okay for them to kill her. It's like, no, he's saying none of you have any right because none of you are perfect. And he just said that by asking, or making a statement / question to them.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was cool. I'm happy you pointed that out.
I also think that this miracle was for his disciples, because up until this point, it it could be a little different in the other gospels depending on the timeline. I'm not sure, but from the Gospel of John up to this point, he's done miraculous healings and spiritual healings, right? Or he knows like these abstract concepts about people, like the woman at the well. And so with this, the breaking of the bread and the fish, and then also with the next miracle, which we might read today or we'll get to later, he is exerting his power over the physical realities, like inanimate objects as well. And he's proving that he has complete control through God's power to do as he will. And so I think this also was for the disciples, because there are certain things that you see that are really amazing and your mind is blown. And then you see something equally amazing in a different domain, or it's a slightly different area, and your mind is just completely blown again, even though it's kind of really the same thing. But until you see it, you don't understand that the power is working in that way together.
And I think on top of that as well, his disciples are also seeing, he's giving them a better picture of who the Messiah is, because at the end of what we read today, it says, Christ perceived, he basically, he realized, oh, or not, oh, like, I don't think it surprised him, but he realized, or he saw that this miracle was so great that these people were ready to make him king because he's the coming Messiah. It says they were going to literally come and forcefully take him, like grab him and force him into kingshiphood, kick out Herod. And after seeing a miracle so great, why wouldn't they? They're like, the Meshiach, the Messiah, he's here. He's going to overthrow the Romans. Like, this concept of the Messiah coming and destroying their enemies is all they've been thinking about as a culture and as a people for thousands of years. And so they're thinking, okay, this is the Messiah, which it was. And here Jesus demonstrates, like you're saying, it wasn't just for them, but also probably for his disciples. He does something here. He says, and when Jesus therefore perceived that they would come and take him by force to make him a king, he departed again into the mountain himself alone. So he left, not only, I think he left his disciples probably to take care of the herd of all the people, to kind of disperse them back to the city. And then he himself, kind of go back to what we're talking about the ambassadors. He went into the wilderness. He went up to the mountain to be by himself and to be obviously with God, which is something we were expressing obviously a lot in the podcast, and as a theme of our ambassadors group is the outdoors, faith, and servanthood. Here's Christ combining all three of those. His faith, obviously, as Christ as God, and the faith miracle. Servanthood, feeding people that need to be fed, feeding them both spiritually and physically, and then also the outdoors. Like, he's already kind of outdoors, but now he's going to the mountains to be alone with God to regain virtue. So yeah, that was kind of bouncing off your thought. What I thought was kind of interesting was he's painting a new picture of who the Messiah is supposed to be. He's not this king. Like, again, it goes back to, we're talking about the transgenderism thing. Christ wasn't there to take care of their physical needs that they were demanding of the Messiah, or that they were hoping from the Messiah to completely destroy Rome, which was their governmental oppressor. Christ wasn't coming to change the outside, but to radically reform and transform their hearts, the inside. And it goes back to what we were saying earlier with like transgender people who are trying so hard to change their appearance and their voice so that they could identify with something, because they feel like they're missing something right now. And it's like, what you're missing is not boobs or not a penis, right? Those aren't the things that you are missing. What you're missing is the love of Christ in your heart, the Holy Spirit being sealed on you, a relationship with the person that designed your DNA and your soul, much less your physical body. So yes, Christ did provide for them physically here, but the bigger picture here was that the Messiah was coming not to reform the world physically, but everyone's individual world, their hearts and their soul spiritually.
I think it shows his care and his love for the people as well, right? There's no reason for him to feed these 5,000 people. But I think in the other Gospels, I think it's Matthew, he says, these people are hungry. What are we going to do to feed them? He kind of says that here too.
Mm-hmm.
But he could have just left with his disciples and they got on ship and then went across the sea and said, oh, we'll see you later. We'll be back to heal you guys later.
Mm-hmm.
But he decided to take the time to, show his authority and his power and also to help people who needed it.
Yeah. I really like verse 5 where he's like, when shall we buy bread that these all may eat? Like, I almost see him like trying to hold back a smile because he's like,
yeah,
watch this.
yeah.
Like, he's like setting them up to be like, it's almost like he's like telling them and he's like seeing them get anxiety. Like, oh no, the master wants us to feed everyone. They're like, all we have is this lad who just has these few barley loaves and some fish.
We've only got 200 penny worth.
Yeah, only 200 penny worth. And Christ is like, all right, give me that. Blesses it, hands it out. Just handing out fishes and loaves and feeding everyone. And I can see God having a big smile on his face as he's feeding people. I think feeding people is something that comes from God. Hear me out. Like I think like hospitality.
Oh, of course you do.
Of course, I'm a Petric. But hospitality, I think, is totally biblical. Breaking bread with people, especially fellow believers, is totally biblical. Feeding the poor is totally biblical. Like, food is an expression of love. I don't care who you are, even if you're the most tasteless white basic American who doesn't know what flavor is. Food is how you bless people. It is totally a love language, and it's one of the greatest ways you can actually express love without even saying a word. Giving a homeless person a home-cooked meal, or even buying them some Wendy's, like, that is an expression of love towards that person. And I think breaking bread, like on Passover, like, this is a communal thing. Our, remembrance of what Jesus did for us is a meal, a Passover meal of bread and wine, communion, right? Like, and then ultimately, what are we all looking forward to? A wedding feast. We're going to have this amazing wedding feast. That's the description God uses. We'll all sit around a wedding banquet table, and we're all going to dine with the bride or with a groom, and we're the bride. Like, this act of service of feeding, because it gives sustenance, it feeds someone, but it also has pleasure. Like, it's amazing that God created pleasure the way he did. Like, he could have made food a necessity that didn't feel good. It could have been a punishment from the fall, the sin that we did, right? Like, women was punished with the childbearing pains, and men with the work of the field, right? Like, that's what it says in Genesis, and death ultimately. But like, God could have made our human attributes, like using the restroom, could have been super painful for human beings, but that's a pleasant feeling. It's that's what we call relieving ourselves, a relieving feeling. Or consuming food, like, we have taste buds, things that taste good. Like, that's like maybe a little bit of a semantic thing, but I think it's really cool how much God has blessed us that we have pleasure here on earth, and even the small tiny things, like even breathing fresh air, or cool air, or the smell of rain. Like, our senses are not just useful for survival, but also enjoyable. Mm-hmm. Not even something we need for surviving for it to be enjoyable. But yeah, no. And then also just like the ministry of hospitality. That's a ministry. That is 100% a ministry, both evangelical, not in the sense of the church or denomination, but evangelical in the sense of the practice of being an evangelist. Those are all very important things.
Yeah, and you can see people light up when you share a meal with them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, get people talking, maybe after they eat.
Not talk while I eat, man. I don't care.
I don't know. Sometimes I notice with really good meals, it just gets dead quiet. Everybody's just eating.
Well, I just eat so quick. I'm done by the time people have had their third bite, so I'm talking.
Well, I eat slow. I eat slow, so.
Listen, I enjoy it so much. If I'm eating your food slow, it means I probably don't enjoy it.
If I'm eating it slow, I like to savor the flavor.
Dude, I am savoring it by shoving it in my mouth.
That's the opposite of savor.
I don't know. Like, if my mouth isn't full, I'm not enjoying my food. I'm not like a slob where it's like falling out, but I mean like I'll take a bite of the bread and the mashed potatoes and the gravy and the chicken, and I'll just. Sorry, I'm thinking of Thanksgiving dinner. Some turkey, some smoked turkey, bro. Oh, I'm getting hungry now. Justin, why are you making me think about food? Goodness gracious, dude.
You're the one that brought it up.
The Bible brought it up, all right? All
True.
right. So, why don't we just read the last 5 verses to 21 real quick? You want me to read it or you want to read it?
Go for it.
Sure. And when he was even now come, his disciples, so now Christ is in the mountain by himself. The disciples probably dispersed to the people. And it says, now when he was now come, he's come down from the mountain, he's coming down into the sea. His disciples, they went into a ship and they went over the sea towards Capernaum. And it was now dark, and Jesus was now come to them. And the sea arose by reason of a great wind that blew, so that when they had rowed about 25 or 30 furlongs, they see Jesus walking on the sea, and drawing nigh unto the ship, and they were afraid. But he said unto them, It is I, be not afraid. Then they willingly received him into the ship, and immediately the ship was at the land whither they went. That's kind of interesting. It's a little bit of a different account than other gospels. Other gospels, Peter sees Christ walking on the water, and everyone's terrified because I think it's a ghost. They don't even know it's Jesus. They're like, what are we looking at? We're in the middle of the sea. It's a storm. We're about to capsize, and we're seeing a man walking on water towards us. They're probably freaking out thinking it's a ghost. Or they are freaking out thinking it's a ghost. The Bible says it is in other gospels. I think Matthew. And I think it's 6. I'm not sure.
I think it's Matthew 14.
14. I was off. But Jesus says, come, and Peter comes to him and whatever. I don't know if you want to read that whole thing, but long story short, Christ says, be not afraid, and he comes in the boat and the waters, peace be still, right? Christ says, peace be still, and the waters like quiet. Or that might be a different account when he's in the boat of the ship or the sleeping in the bed of the ship, and he says, peace be still. But regardless, it's cool here because I thought was interesting is, and the way John says they willingly received him unto the ship, and immediately the ship was at the land whither they went. It's like they see him walking to him, he steps onto the boat, gets on board, and boom, all of a sudden they're on land. Like the ship teleported.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
I imagine they kind of were looking down and they're pulling him out of the water, and they kind of get him on the deck, and then they look up and they're just there.
Yeah.
Where they were trying to go.
That's pretty wild, man. Teleportation in the Bible.
That account, confirmed.
Confirmed.
That account of Jesus. So this is kind of what I was mentioning earlier, so now you have him controlling inanimate objects like food, and he can just replicate it as much as he wants to feed whoever he wants. And then just right after that, he's walking on the ocean, walking on the water, and then also they teleport once they get him onto the ship. So imagine being the apostle, right? And he can do miraculous healings, but then all of this happens back to back to back. And mentally, they were probably just so boomeranged that they didn't even know what was going on. And
seriously,
just imagine the awe and the wonder that would have filled them to experience all that.
Yeah. No, I definitely, but it points out to something important here, right? Like, they all saw this stuff, huh?
Teleportation,
yes. Confirmed. Teleportation is confirmed in the Bible, actually. No, it points to something important here. Something I was actually thinking about today at work is never tell yourself, this is a mistake most baby Christians make. They get saved, and they tell themselves, now that they've repented from their sins and they're walking closely with the Lord as close as they can, they tell themselves this one thing, and it's something I told myself, and God had to show me I was wrong. They say whatever it is, think of anything. Everyone's individual and personal with a specific statement. They have something that they say, I would never. I will never. Everyone is capable of doing every kind of evil in the world. If you have this perspective that says, I will never, that's not healthy, because God will show you really quickly, hey, you're not in control. I'm in control. It ain't about what you can and can't do. It's about you relying and staying close to me so that you would never. And the reason I bring this up is because here are the disciples, just like you said, miracle after miracle. And yet they all run away from Jesus at the Garden of Gethsemane. Yet Peter denies him 3 times. The same Peter that walked on water with him. The other disciples they watched, he physically walked on water. That same Peter denied him 3 times. And this is the beginning of John. Like, we're not even like 1,000 miracles later where John says if it were written, it couldn't contain, all the books in the world couldn't contain all the things Jesus did. So we don't even know the countless amount of things that the apostles did witness, how many other healings or miraculous things, yet they still. And what did Apostle Peter say when Jesus said, I tell you of a truth, tonight you will deny me before the cock crows 3 times. You will deny me 3 times. And what does Peter say? I would never do that, Lord. Far be it, for I would never do it. Yeah, he does. Now, I think it's just an important thing I was thinking of today. I wanted to mention on the podcast. I know if I was doing today's podcast, but I think it would be important is always have your guard up because Satan walks around like a roaring lion. Don't think now that I'm a Christian, I'm a believer, I'm like untouchable and that I can't fall into sin again, because God's going to show you really quickly how infallible you are and how much you still need him as a believer. Never tell yourself, I would never do this thing. And I don't mean it in the sense that you shouldn't be like, hey, I'm never going to let myself get close to doing that thing. I'm saying don't tell yourself that you're incapable of doing it. You as a human being, no matter whether you're Mother Teresa or me or Justin, no person is not capable of doing the most evil. Every person is capable of doing the most evil thing out there. That school shooter we're talking about earlier, he was an innocent as a baby at one point. He was a little Catholic boy who was being raised by conservative parents in a conservative denomination where he was raised, right? Probably went to Catholic school. I'm sure his parents thought my son would never end up shooting up a bunch of little children in a school. You know what I'm saying? Like, be very careful with that mentality and that thought. It's not to live in fear. It's the opposite. It's not to live in a delusion, but to watch your steps and to not give the devil an inch. I don't know what you think about that.
I think I mostly agree with it because there's this idea of, don't be prideful in the expression of how you live your life, right? What's that phrase? Something about being, I can't remember it now, but it's kind of like pride comes before the fall, right? Yeah. So although I agree with that, there are things that I say, like, I will never do it, right? I think at any point in my life, if you put a knife in my hand and then set somebody before me and tell me to kill them, I'm not going to do it, right? Mm-hmm. So I think there's a little bit of a balance there. Yes, everybody is capable of doing those things, but just because the capacity exists doesn't mean that you will do it.
But right? Why would you never do that, Justin? Why would you never kill someone? What is your reasoning for that? Is it because of you?
So my reason would be, well, I have Christian ethics and I know Christ. But I would also argue, well, I mean, you can get into it, right, depending on the situation. But I think there's a lot of people who are not Christians who would also not take the life of a person who's sitting in front of them, right? Now, sure. I guess maybe you can debate back and forth. It's kind of hard to know, but I kind of try to balance it out a little bit because I think there's, God instills in every person a very basic sense of morality, which is why, everybody gets mad when children are hurt, or everybody gets mad when there's an unjust killing, right? So I don't know. Maybe I kind of balance it. I agree with you. I lean more towards your side, but that's just kind of how I see it.
Let me give a better analogy that might explain it a little bit better. I'm not, obviously, like, with Christ, we would never do these things, right? Because it's Christ who is working in us, because Christ would never do these things. So if we're putting on Christ, then yes, technically we would never do these things. I'm talking more about self-talk. I'm talking more about the things that we tell ourselves or or how we view ourselves as human beings. We need to realize that, like you said, we are capable of doing these things. That's what I mean. There's some people that say like, I would never, like, I'm not capable of doing that thing. It's like, there's people who have literally eaten their children because of starvation. Any mother would tell you the second her baby's born that she would never in a million years, she's not capable of eating her child. Yeah, people do that. Like, it's happened. In the Old Testament, mothers did that, right? Like that actually happened. It's happened even in the modern day world with people been lost in at sea, or what do you call whatever the whole was a Donner family that got like lost and cannibalized.
Donner.
Yeah. So like there are so that we're obviously capable of these things. Here's the analogy, and this might give you a better picture of what I'm actually trying to say here. Let's say there's someone who is a brand new born again believer, and he's like, "Man, I've given my life to Christ. I will never give up my virginity before I get married. I would never do that because I love Jesus so much." But because of this mentality, they start making compromises in some areas because they've convinced themselves that they would never do this thing because how could I? I'm a Christian now. I'm a believer. I think so. I would never. And so they start going to places they shouldn't go. They start spending more one-on-one time with their female friends. They maybe go clubbing because a friend invited them to go listen to the music, or they start what do you call um, entertaining conversations between girls online, where they start allowing it to like become like every once in a while it's not that big of a deal, but if it's like every single day, they start allowing like people like messaging them, and they don't stop it. They don't have the mentality to be like, no, I am totally capable of doing this thing. I'm not even going to take the steps that would lead me to do that thing. Right? So here's a good example. You, Justin, would say, I would never kill a person, right? So you probably would never buy let's say, you would probably never buy what would be like a human gun. You would never buy 9mm because 9mm you can't use for hunting. That's not a hunting gun. It's a person bullet. 9mm is a person bullet. It's not an animal bullet. You would never buy a 9mm gun, and you would never put it on your bedside in a drawer, because even though Justin might say, I would never, one night someone breaks into your house and your wife is sleeping next to you, and the guy looks like he wants to do you know what to your wife and you, and out of just instinct, fight or flight, boom, boom, boom. Like it's you pull up the gun and you shoot the guy, right? Like as a Christian, right? Like, but some people, I know people like this who have rationalized with themselves, I would never take a life, but they have a 9mm in their drawer, and they say it's like, oh, it's just to scare someone. I would like, they make small compromises, like I said earlier. So that's what I mean more by like saying like, be careful when you tell yourself, I would never do this thing. Just like the apostle says, I would never deny my Christ, even if someone held a gun to my head. It's like, I would, the same way me and you would say, like, if she gave me a knife, I would never kill someone. It's like, if we aren't fully emptied of ourselves and fully putting on Christ, which is very hard, then we're totally capable of those things. And we have to be very watchful, and we need to make provisions for the spirit, not for the flesh. Does that kind of make sense? Tell yourself that in the decisions you make in your life, right? Because if you're the type of person where, let's say, a girl is texting you a lot, and you have this mentality where you're constantly telling yourself,
I wish.
Yeah, seriously. But like you have this mentality in the back of your mind where you're like, oh, I would never, I'm just texting her, I would never get into a relationship with someone, but what could lead me down that path, right? Like if you tell yourself that, or you could tell yourself, you know what? This girl is really interested into me. I don't think she's a Christian. It would be really easy for us to hook up. I'm not even going to entertain this. Even though I think I would never do this, I'm not even going to make any provisions for the flesh. So that's a very minuscule thing, but that's just a thought. I don't think it's healthy for Christians to tell themselves, I would never do this.
So I agree. The verse that comes to mind is Romans 13:14. It says, "Put ye on the Lord Jesus Christ, and make not provision for the flesh to fulfill the lusts thereof," right? So don't put yourself in a situation where it's possible for you to fulfill lust, because we're all human and we're imperfect, and we're probably going to fulfill that lust, right? So I agree with you from that aspect. But there's still a part of me that just, our goal is to look towards Christ and not to look back at sin and be like, oh, it's going to get me. It's right there, right? It's like, to me, I try to look towards Christ, and you're totally right. Totally agree, right? Be very cognizant of the fact that I am not perfect and I can fall into sin, and I will fall into sin if I make the provisions there. But at the same time, I'm not worried about being depraved just like that, right? It's not
Mm-hmm.
like there's this thing lurking in me that all it has to do is snap and I'm just this evil, horrible person. So that's maybe where I'm coming from. Totally agree with you that we should not make opportunity for sin to enter into our lives, because once that ball starts rolling down the hill, it's very, very bad.
Well, I think one of the more important parts of this too, that also kind of goes with that, is like, look, people who tell themselves, I would never do this, they often, when they see someone else do that thing, they don't have any grace for those people because they're not realizing, oh, I'm just as capable to have fallen the same way they fell. And I'm thankful I didn't. And I'm not like talking about being freaked out about sin, like, oh, I need to be careful. I want this because this will lead to that, like a butterfly effect. Like, I'm just talking about being, like you said, the verse you said, putting on Christ, putting in the armor, being careful, taking precautions, and walking close to God, and not
Mm-hmm.
like thinking like, I can do this, I can take this, like taking so many liberties to the point where you're like, I know I would never do that thing. It's like, well, you are literally capable of the most evil of anyone else on earth because everyone started out innocent as a baby. You, even if you were raised right, there are a lot of people that are raised right, just like that young man who turned out very wrong. And just because you call yourself a Christian or you have a relationship with God now doesn't mean you couldn't be a Judas. Like we all have within us the capability of being a Judas. Doesn't mean we will be, but if we aren't realizing that, then we can let our guard down. That's what I'm trying to say. We need to be cognizant of things, not freaking out, right? Like sin isn't
Mm-hmm.
what should be controlling. We don't want to be legalistic and have this like framework of like terrified of sin and like doing all these little things. But as we're looking towards Christ and moving towards him, realize we aren't, Christ is invincible. We're not invincible. So the closer you are to Christ, the more you're getting closer to that like not having that influence of sin over you. But then also having that healthy mentality of realizing how human beings work, it gives, especially after you're a believer, it's good for you to realize like how imperfect people are, and it helps you have more grace for someone who does fall. Because you don't see someone who's lesser than you when you fall. You're actually looking at a mirror and you're saying, that could be me if I wasn't careful. And maybe, God forbid, that might be me one day. I still need to express grace to this person, and I want to help pulling them out of that rather than, because sometimes there are a lot of people in my experience dealing with these type of Christians who do have a very I would never personality, and they have very little grace for anyone. And what ends up happening is it's not healthy because guess what? Every person, if it hasn't happened to you now, it's going to happen yet. You're going to do something pretty bad. Not maybe like, seriously like grievous, but like maybe you even get close to something like that where you catch yourself beforehand and you feel so guilty before the Lord. And guess what? You're going to have zero grace for yourself. And for some people, it actually destroys their faith, or it just cripples them for the rest of their lives where they still have their faith, but they're living in the shadow of what they had done rather than seeing the whole way along that they were capable of that the whole time. And they were still able to repent from that and come close to the Lord. There's always repentance available. You don't want to make these things so big that you're like, you know, there's no coming back from this thing. So I know I would never. It's like there's always coming back, unless it's blaspheming the Holy Spirit. You know what I mean? But that's another side to it. I think that's important too. Is it helps a lot with your grace for other people and your grace for yourself. If it's unhealthy, your view of of who makes you righteous, it's Christ. That's the reason I would never. It's not I would never, it's Christ would never. And it's his righteousness that is imputed onto me. And if I cling onto that, then I'm running a race. I'm fighting a fight. What does Apostle Paul say to Timothy? Endure. Endure hardness, therefore, as a good soldier of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a battle.
Fair enough. I think that's all I had.
That's all I had too. I'll play the outro.
All
No other
right.
thoughts?
Oh, real quick. If anybody's curious, go look up the third wave experiment. It's super interesting about people who thought they
Third
would
wave
never.
experiment. What is that?
Go find out.
Experiment or experience?
Experiment.
Oh, experiment. Is that the talk about what we were talking about earlier?
It's the communist. There's a college experiment where they did some communism or something.
MK Ultra.
You'll see. Just go look it up. Just go look it up. It's really interesting.
All right. Well.
Bye.
Bye, guys. See you next week. God bless.